Hey there and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug video. And today, I'm backtracking, flip-flopping, sitting on the fence, changing my mind. I hate to be that person because it's goddamn annoying when somebody can't make up their mind about opinions, but I've spent ages as a firm believer of the evil Emilie Agreste theory, making video after video talking about how she's going to be the big twist villain, about how she's the one we got to be watching out for. And I won't go into too much detail about the reason behind the theory itself. After all, I've made a few videos about how she probably wasn't as nice and benevolent and perfect as she's described. But long story short, I figured it would be quite the humorous twist that the character that's universally considered to be sweet and good and kind is actually the worst sort of person. I pointed out that she'd been using the Peacock Miraculous, perhaps for some evil shenanigans, or at least to bring her own child to life, to control them, which, you know, I get if they weren't able to have kids, but at least make sure the control device is buried forever if that's the case. Plus, I cited evidence that since Adrien seems so used to being controlled, but has also openly said that his father's cruelty is kind of new, that means his mum was probably controlling too. E.g., his only friend was Chloe, or other approved children, and he'd never been to school. This just reeks of control, and unless Gabe was just the worst, most irredeemable man ever, surely she would also have had to have some big part in all of this. And remember, in Wishmaker, Adrien had no childhood dream beyond being whatever his parents wanted him to be. Parents. That doesn't sound like a kid who was encouraged by either parent to be independent or creative. And really, that was the major basis of my thought process. That she was going to come back and be revealed that perhaps she wasn't the greatest person that's ever lived, and give us a lot of narrative tension and conflict. Hell, maybe she would have become the big human villain like Lila is now, where she purposefully sabotages Adrien's life to keep him with Mummy forever. And meanwhile, you give Gabe the boot, and a new Hawkmoth takes charge, like we saw in that episode from the future. It would have been a pretty decent story twist in my opinion, that had a lot of narrative potential. I think it could have reinvigorated the show in a lot of unique ways. But now, a few months after the release of the finale for Season 4, I'm not really certain that it's going to play out that way anymore. I know, we've arrived at the dreaded wishy-washy flip-flop. Well, now I think it's probably just going to play out how it's played out already in a bunch of other episodes. Gabe gets the miraculous, he tries to make his wish, and kaboom! He gets psyched out at the last second, and he ends up getting clowned on by a bunch of teenagers in fancy dress. And that's after having lost basically every other miraculous in the box that he stole. Ugh. He's getting set up for the most embarrassing defeat in the history of the show. But that's besides the point. I just don't see them following through on erasing the world. I don't see us ever seeing Emily in the flesh, or at least alive in the flesh. She'll just be the corpse in the box forevermore. And honestly, I do think that's okay. Yeah, it would have been nice for the theory to be true and for us to have the big gotcha moment as the fandom collectively shits their pants at this crazy revelation. Plus, it would have given Cat Noir more opportunity for some much needed personal growth and character development. And hell, it would have even given some more depth to Gabe, who's been slipping further and further into an outright mustache-twirling villain who just does things because they're evil. Doesn't even have a plan anymore. He's just like, ooh, this is a pretty bad thing to do. I honestly think it would have been a good thing for the narrative, all things considered. There's just so much potential with a twist like this. Not only for that season itself, but for future seasons and storylines. But now, I just think there are too many reasons as to why it won't work anymore. Why it would probably just hamper the show as a whole. And I think at this stage of the game, there's only really one reason why they would follow through with such a storyline. Because they've already faked out the audience too many times, and they don't want to do it again. They've already done the Shadow Moth gets the Miraculouses and makes his wish storyline. And it was for a fake out time travel ending. If they ever decide to do it again, they really have to go all in and commit to it, because otherwise it's just poor writing. The writers would essentially be telling us, as the audience, to not invest in the story at all, because there are no consequences, and the heroes will always swoop in at the last second to save the day, no matter what. Plus, it makes Gabe as a character look truly pathetic. He can't even beat a bunch of kids once he's taken away their magical jewels. The dude is a master of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory at this point. And so, it would just cheapen any sort of finale if they ended up doing a storyline like that. And so in that respect, it does feel like they've written themselves into a bit of a corner, where the only satisfying ending involves some sort of Emilie Agreste reveal, even if they do end up reversing it somehow for added drama and angst. But on the other hand, I honestly do think that there are some really good reasons to not pursue this as a serious plot point. to just let her stay a corpse in a coffin, and have it be a sad moment when Gabe and Adrian realize that she's gone for good and she's not coming back. And so the first of these major reasons is that in season 4, it was revealed that in order to make your wish after you unite the cat and Ladybug, you have to erase the universe and build a fresh one around your wish. So everybody and everything gets replaced by identical copies, except for the thing you've changed, and presumably yourself. So if Gabe wipes out the world and rebuilds another in which his wife is still alive, well, it doesn't really use the characters we know. Yes, Marinette and Adrian and everybody would still be there, but they wouldn't have the same memories and experiences. It would be an alternate universe, a parallel universe. And so, the writing would have to pull something out of its ass to have them somehow remember who they are and save the day. And that would just be a bit, pointless, stupid. Take your pick. It just wouldn't be satisfying narratively. Either that, or they'd have to somehow allow Marinette to survive the wish and appear in this parallel world without a scratch. And previously, I've speculated that since the Ox has the power to nullify the effect of other people's powers on the user, that maybe this would allow Marinette to make it there and back again. Who knows? Either way, for this storyline to work, Marinette would need to have her memories. And then for maximum angst, she should have to convince Adrian that he needs to help her reverse the wish, and therefore kill his mum. But honestly, that might even be a little too angsty for the show. Either that or Marinette basically has to murder Adrian's mum against his will, and that would also be a bit of a bummer. I just don't see how you can write a satisfying conclusion if Gabe actually gets to use his wish. I just feel any resolution would feel like a bit of an arse pull, or like it was rushed and senseless. Better just keep the mystery intact for now. And then finally, I think keeping Emily dead adds a lot to the Senti Adrian storyline. Maximum angst. Because obviously, it's been heavily hinted at this point that Adrian is likely a Senti monster. So, having his beloved mother die because she created him, and him having no way to bring her back without sacrificing everybody else, actually makes a lot of sense to the story, and adds a further emotional arc to the characters. It shows that the actions the characters undertake actually mean something, and that the story has real stakes. Not every character is going to have their happy ending. Bad things can happen to good people. Yada yada yada. It just feels right. But anyway, that's all I really have to say. And so we've arrived at the end of the video. And I would like to say that these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think about what we've discussed today? Agree with me? Or maybe you disagree? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.